Good morning, everybody, and welcome, welcome. How's everyone doing this morning? Can everybody hear me? Awesome, awesome. Welcome, everybody. We're expecting a bunch of other people to come still. Of course, Cape Town traffic is just absolutely ridiculous. So, but we're going to get going so that everybody who's early can take advantage of that. So just some formalities this morning. If you're wanting to go to the bathroom, it's across the hall as you came in from registration. Teas will happen outside the room there today, and the lunch is downstairs. So if you walk straight and into the lift and down to the ground floor, lunch will be served down there. So today we are filming this event. You'll see there's some cameras around. So if you have questions, please make sure that you first get a mic before you ask your question so that we can get it recorded on the video. Then today we're using Slido. So is someone going to put something up on the screen there? We're using a system called Slido to ask questions. So Slido, you use the hashtag Finevent CPT, and you put that Finevent CPT into the hashtag, and you will then be able to ask questions there. That doesn't mean you can't ask questions in real, like as a real person, but if you want to ask questions on Slido, that is perfect. You can do that. I have to lose my glove. Just need to make sure that I'm giving you all the things. Then, of course, we have the WhatsApp group that was created, so we will be putting up all the information on that WhatsApp group so that everybody can see what's going on. And then today we have a number of really amazing sessions. And it's so important that if you're going to remember what happened today and you're going to actually make it count, that you write down notes and you write stuff down. So what I want everyone to do right now is to paraphrase Henry Ford and to write down on your piece of paper, if I believe I can or I believe I can't, I am right. So people aren't writing that down. Come on. Listen to the coin. So, if I believe I can or I believe I can't, I'm right. And that's so important when it comes to mindset. So, thank you, everybody, and welcome. So we're going to quickly welcome up our first speaker today. He's none other than Kevin Allen. My goodness. I can tell you something. You have to really respect those people at Disney World, because that is not fun. It's very hot in there. I don't know how they do that in like the baking sun in Florida or in California. That must just be pretty hard. They're all underage. All on minimum wage. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, thank you. If we can swap over to this. So this morning, I'm sort of the intro here today, and what I'm going to do is really just talk about you and future-focused FinTech. So what you need to do in order to take advantage of the future. We have some news on charisma here. How to crush any interview. Okay. So just a little bit about me. So who am I? I've been sort of called many, many things in my life. These are some of them. And at the moment, I work with Wealth Migrate. I'm working on the Wealthy token sale. And I've been part of the team that's helped Wealth Migrate raise just over $10 million in equity into the company. And I'm also the founding director of the African Crowdfunding Association. I really believe that the power of the crowd is something that is going to really change the world. And we're going to see the crowd having a louder and louder voice, and that really excites me. So yeah. So essentially, technology, is going to advance with or without you, right? We're going to continue to advance technology, and the thing is if you really want to take advantage of that, you have to make sure that you are in the right mindset and you're able to best take advantage of that. And so, has anybody read this book? One person. Okay, so this is by John Sanai, I think that's how you say his name. And he's a South African guy. He's John he's a South African. And this book, What's Your Moonshot, talks about being a victor versus a victim. That's the first chapter. And then it talks about exponential technologies and how you can take advantage of it. And it's very South African focused. So it's got a lot of South African examples. And I just love this quote of his, which says, when we talk nicely to ourselves, when we give ourselves the time of day, we might just discover that there's some magic hidden in all of us. And that's like really important that, when it comes to mindset, that we actually, we have a mindset of a victor versus a victim. So, essentially today we're talking a lot about things that are, the event's called the Finevent. So what really is FinTech? So who can tell me what FinTech is? You don't have to get a mic to shout out. So essentially just stands for financial technology. Technology is coming to many different angles of the financial industry, whether it's payments or whether it's investments or whether it's banking. And there's a number of different technologies that are actually, coming to sort of the tech space. So who here in the room has actually started any sort of tech company? And who works at a tech company? Okay, so what is usually the number one thing that most tech companies struggle with? Money, funding, tech. The tech guy says tech. So, most of the time it is money. And we have Vuyisa Kabaka from Uprise Africa that's going to be talking later today about equity crowdfunding. So Uprise is the first equity crowdfunding platform in Africa, and it's really exciting. As I said at the intro, I really believe that the crowd are the way we're going, and so it's extremely exciting that we have the crowd that's going to be able to fund businesses. So when it comes to a quick ad break. So I have a few of these little ad breaks in my presentation. So has anybody read this book? It's a book called Anything You Want by Derek Sivers. Does anybody know who Derek Sivers is? Yes, so Derek Sivers started a company called CD Baby in the 90s, and he was a musician, and all he wanted to do was sell his CDs online. So he learned to code. He coded a cart, and then actually started selling his CDs online. And all his friends wanted to sell their CDs online, and he actually grew to be Apple's first distributor of alternative music. So he offered them quite a lot. Anyway, but you can read the book. But the thing that he actually speaks about is the multiplier of execution, all about ideas versus execution. And essentially, as you can see from the screen, that when it comes to anything in life, business and really anything, execution is actually what counts as opposed to the idea. So if you're sitting in the room and you have a great idea, that's great, but there's lots of other people who also have a great idea. And I know David always says that if a startup founder comes to him and says, please sign this NDA before I'll tell you my idea, he says, go and enjoy your life, because ideas are dime a dozen. And it's really, really important to realize that you can have a so-so idea with brilliant execution that does much better than a brilliant idea with so-so execution. So that's just a quick ad break. So when it comes to Wealth Migrate and funding, the way that we did it was a little bit different. And so I thought I would just explain the story of Wealth Migrate and how we actually have arrived at where we are today. So Wealth Migrate in 2015, really a lot of the clients came to Scott and said, we really, really, really love this platform, but how can we get involved in the actual business? And around about the same time, he read a book called Behind the Cloud about Salesforce, which is another really good book to read. And I think Scott is going to put on the WhatsApp group about 100 books that you can read. And the way they actually grew their company was through a thing called design partners, where their clients became shareholders in their business. And so at Wealth Migrate, we did pretty much exactly the same thing. And through the power of the crowd, we created this honeycomb, which essentially is all the areas of the business. And a number of clients actually became shareholders. Now, this is essentially crowdfunding, just not using technology, which is a little bit funny that we were a technology company that didn't use crowdfunding technology, but we still did crowdfund. And the thing the reason I've told the story is to share with people in the room who are wanting to grow their business. There are innovative ways of doing anything and everything. So, make sure that you look at the many, many different opportunities and different ways of actually growing your business. And this is what we did at Wealth Migrate. And that, together with the crowd that was around Wealth Migrate, as well as, attending things like Entrepreneurs Institute and Singularity University and Abundance, and reading some of these books that you can see on the screen, as well as, using the internet, speaking to people, traveling the world, that's when essentially we came across the idea of blockchain in about, 2014, 2015. And, what that could actually do to a platform that is, really trying to revolutionize the real estate industry and wealth as a whole. And so I'm just going to quickly play this short video. If you have seen this video, which some of you might have, I ask that you watch it again. Repetition is always great.
This is the seller. This is the buyer. This is the middleman. Cutting out the middleman can be a great thing, unless you're the middleman. And there are a lot of middlemen or intermediaries out there. Entire industries, such as payments or securities clearing, have evolved to rely on them. Why? Because they establish trust where there is none. They establish ownership, that the seller has the right to sell what's being sold. They attest to history, that there is a clean transaction history. And they certify ability, that the buyer has the money to buy it. All pretty critical details when you don't know the person on the other side of the transaction. Intermediaries know and trust one another. Their business is based on it, so they have more to lose than gain from breaching that trust. But what if there were a better, cheaper middleman, one that didn't add as much cost, complexity, and chance for error? There might be. It's called blockchain, and it has the potential to disrupt the entire ecology of intermediaries. It's a distributed ledger that relies on large networks of computers that redundantly encode transaction data by solving complex mathematical equations. The secure ledger provides an inviolable record. If the history of an instrument is incorruptible and available to all parties, there's no need for a third party to vouch. Blockchain is proof of ownership, history, and ability in non-centralized encrypted form. It's fast, transparent, and free of error. The question is not whether blockchains can cut out the middlemen in complex transactions, but rather which middlemen and when.
Okay, so I'd like everyone to just shout out. We don't have to get a mic. Where do you think you can use this use blockchain technology in an area that really is a pain in your life? Everything. That's offensive to answer. Everything. Banking. Asset registration, logistics tracking, legal industry, FICA. So, yeah, education certificates. So essentially, there are a number of different areas where people are starting businesses where they're using blockchain in order to track, trace a number of different things, from banana coin, where essentially they want to trace that bananas are fair trade, etc., etc. Right through to putting your medical records on the blockchain, having your identity on the blockchain. And it's actually really exciting because what that means is you can actually hold all your records and have the private key to that, and then say, Gavin, I trust you, and I'm coming to your hospital. Here are my medical records, and I give you access to that. And then my medical records, for example, I have all over the world. So no longer do I have to I've moved from Joburg to Cape Town. Now I have to try and go and get all the medical records that were at my doctor and, just bring down literally a file of papers. And the great thing is as soon as we have all of the records online, you're never going to have to fill a form in your life ever again. Which is what excites me so much, because you go to the doctor that you've been to before, and then they still say, please fill in this damn form. And you're like, jeepers, do I have to give you this information again? So it's really exciting to see what that's going to do to the world. So again, before we continue, just another mindset ad break. In 2017, I really took seriously the whole write down your goals and make sure that you are, you writing things down and checking what you're doing. And so I started this thing which Scott told me about, which is to actually write a letter to yourself at the beginning of the year that you'll read at the end of the year. I know it sounds a bit cheesy, but so on the 4th of January 2017, I wrote this whole letter about what I was going to do in 2017. And this is an excerpt from that letter, which is, it was so great to see Dave live and the kids in Sydney. That's my brother and his wife. Spending time traveling around Sydney was an amazing experience. Now, when I wrote that, I'd never left Africa. I'd never left the continent. And in November, I got to spend 3 weeks in Sydney. I was working and visiting, but I still got to spend the time there. And this picture from my Instagram is actually all the travels that I did in 2017, which was 10 countries. And really, the reason I'm putting this out here again is just to remind everybody that, today you're going to learn a lot of things. There's going to be things that you might not agree with, but have the mindset of learning and the mindset of how can I improve, and what can I actually learn and grow from this. And I think the best thing I learned traveling so much is that actually all people around the world are really the same, and everybody wants the same thing, really. Everybody wants to be sort of happy and have if they got a family, that their family's fed and they have a roof over their head. And just because you in Puerto Rico and you speak Spanish, or you're in Japan and you look different and you speak a different language, all those people really are the same, and it's quite cool to see that. And so yeah, I really just want to let everybody know that if you here and you're thinking, geesh, I'm 60 and I don't think I can change, or jeepers, I grew up here and I don't think I can change. I mean, I have a pharmacy degree, and I'm now, helping a company build a cryptocurrency that we want to change the world with. I mean, so you don't have to put yourself in a box ever. So 2018 and beyond, you're in charge of your destiny. Join the conversation. Continue to have this conversation here. Today we have amazing stories to tell. David is up next, and I really ask that everybody write down notes, listen intensely, write down questions. We do have a panel right at the end of the sort of near the end of the day, where we're going to have time to ask questions as well. But please do write those down and ask questions, so that, and there's no question that's a stupid question. So yeah, so thanks everybody, and we can welcome up David Orban.